Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. As you can see, I'm on the water getting ready to go after some fish. I'm looking to catch some cats today. My plan of attack is going to be much like what I typically do. I'm going to find these laydowns in the water, sit on them, and try to pull some quality cats off of them. Normally, when I fish this way, I do so with only one rod. However, today I have two rods with me. I'm going to continue to fish how I normally do with a larger bait, some heavier tackle, try to pick off some quality cats, but I'm going to be a little bit more methodical, fish a little bit more slowly as I go down through here. I've got a second rod with me. It's a lighter rod. I've got a smaller hook on there, some lighter tackle. Lately I've been getting on some locations where I've been getting hit by a lot of smaller fish and a lot of turtles. Not hoping to catch the turtles today, but I am thinking with this smaller rod, this lighter tackle, maybe I can pick off a few of them smaller fish that have been chewing on my baits. Have a little bit of fun out here today, add some numbers to the catch. So I'm still going after the quality, but I'm hoping to up the quantity a little bit today by having the second rod with me. We'll see if it works. Stay tuned. Let's go see what we can find. So I've paddled my way upstream here. I'm going to float back down from where I'm at. But I've noticed on several recent outings activity similar to this, where the bait that I've got on is just a little bit too big for the fish to get the entirety of, along with the hook. So that's the reason I came out here with a second rod today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this second rod behind me and get a smaller bait on it. Got lighter tackle on that, and hopefully it'll be small enough that some of these little fish that are pecking at and kind of destroying and messing with my bigger baits will be able to get hooked up and we'll be able to have some fun reeling them in. So what I'm going to do is just take this small chunk of cut bait, cut the gut pocket out of it to just give it a smaller profile. Cut that fin off the back of it as well. And then this is going to be my outfit. So that's a 7-foot medium action Shimano rod. This is a rod that I had originally purchased for bass fishing. Hasn't been used in years for its intended purpose, but last night I went ahead and re-spooled it. The line needed replaced, so I got some 30-pound braid on there. That's just what I had around at home. That's spider wire. And then just a basic Carolina rig. I've got a 1.5 ounce lead weight down to a 17-pound monofilament leader with that's either a 3 or a 4/0 circle hook. I might like to have something even a little bit smaller than that, but that's what I had again at home, so that's what we're going with. I'll just take and hook that small piece of cut bait if I can hang on to it. Just hook it through the meat, through the back like that. Make sure the scales are out of the way, and that should be something that's a small enough profile for us to be able to hook into some of these smaller cats. I'll fish it just like my other baits. I'm just going to set it in the water next to the kayak, suspend it just off bottom, and give it a minute to see if we can pick off a smaller fish. Did we get him? Oh yeah, that's a little guy. Oh, he just popped off too. Well, if they're gonna be that small, we're gonna need baits even smaller than this. Well, and he still kind of tore that up before he got the hook too. I think we're gonna maybe move on to the next hole. That one there, maybe even a little bit smaller than what I was hoping to deal with. Well, folks, this plan is not working out like I thought it would. It is amazing to me that you can downsize so much and still not be able to catch the fish. That's still what's happening. I mean, I'm putting tiny baits on these hooks. These hooks are maybe a little bit big, but these fish must just be really, really small. So I think I'm just going to move on. Maybe put my attention back on the bigger fish and try to actually catch something today. We're finally gonna catch a fish here. I sure hope we do. If we do, that'll be the first one of the day. Be long anticipated, long awaited. I think we might. We can keep him out of the branches that he's obviously wanting to get to. We might finally get one. Oh, man, that took a lot longer than I thought it would, but this is the size of fish I was kind of figuring that we might find if we brought this second rod out with us. Something that's big enough to get a smaller hook and a smaller bait, but just not quite big enough to get my bigger baits. Well, I've been on a lot of small fish, but man, they've been real small because they haven't even been big enough to get hooked up on this rod. And finally we got one here. Feels good to finally catch a fish. It's been a long anticipated catch. I've seen some gar, had a lot of bites from small fish, got scared to death by a muskrat. Been thinking about trapping season. Trapping season's coming up soon. Only a couple months away. Trying to kind of start thinking about that and start making a plan. So that's kind of what I was thinking about when this fish finally hit. So I shouldn't say this fish finally hit. I had a fish hit I was still fishing my bigger rod and had a fish hit it that felt like it was maybe a little bit bigger than some of these others, but just not quite big enough to get the bait on that big rod. So drop this bait back down, and paid off on one fish for us today. So we'll at least get one landed, one in the kayak, and it won't be a skunk day. I'm not sure. I think that line's strong enough to boat lift this fish. It's hooked well. So that's what I'm going to do. If it comes off, that's the way it goes. But I'm going to try and just lift it in as is. That might be a bad idea though. Well, we'll play him out here for a minute. He's not quite ready to come in the kayak. And he's in the kayak. Got one landed anyways. I apologize if commentary's lacking. Had people up behind me and not real comfortable talking to myself is what I'm sure it appears. I'm sure that's how it appears to people that hear me talking down here, so just a little bit self-conscious about that. So that's the reason, if you're wondering why the commentary is so poor. I suppose I should correct the camera to show you the fish, but that's why the commentary is so poor, if you're wondering. So get that sinker out of the way. That fish is hooked really well, wasn't going anywhere without popping the line or getting snagged. Try to pop the hook out if I can. There's at least one fish for us today. We're not getting skunked. That's kind of what I thought I might get into if I brought this second rod with me. Some of these fish that are just not quite big enough to get my larger tackle and get hooked up. But man, just been pestered by really, really small fish today. We'll get this one released and we'll see if we can catch another. Guys, like I said, I apologize for the poor commentary, but finally had one scenario play out like I had imagined in my mind. I had my larger rod here sitting on a good hole, got hit, but the fish didn't hook up, but it felt a little bit bigger than what these other ones had been out here today. I've been getting pecked all day by tiny fish, and they haven't even been big enough to get hooked up on my second rod, on my little rod that I brought with me for that purpose. So I kind of gave up on that for a while, but I got sitting here on this hole, had what felt like a better bite, but just didn't hook up on my bigger rod, so I put it up. and grabbed my smaller rod and dropped the bait down, and not 30 seconds later I had that fish hit. So it worked out the way I had hoped it would work in my mind. It's just been with some of these other fish out here today, they're just so small that they can't even get that, I don't know what it is, 3/0, 4/0 circle hook in their mouth. So I guess what I'll do is just be a little bit more selective when I drop that second rod down. If I suspect that the fish are really, really small, like a lot of them have been out here today, I may as well just keep it put up and move on to the next hole. But while I'm sitting here on this hole, where there's one fish, there can occasionally be 2 or 3, so I'm going to drop another bait back down and see what I can find. Guys, I'm going to cut a piece of this tail. I normally chuck these out, but when I'm fishing a smaller bait, that's about the perfect size for these smaller hooks to fish a smaller bait, that tail piece there, and it's a little bit tougher piece of meat too, so it does a little bit better job staying on the hook. So I'm going to cut that, just cut the little fin off here and put that on the hook, and that's what we're going to use for our next bait. That wasn't but just a few seconds quicker than the first. This one's a little bit smaller than the first, but it hit a little bit more aggressive. Don't know how well it's hooked, but that one took, I don't know, 10 seconds. It's skin hooked. It may pop free here, but it did not take long for that fish to hit. So maybe we're on a few here that are going to be big enough and aggressive enough for us to catch. I mean, that bait literally was in the water for 10 seconds or less. I do not know if we're going to get this one landed just for the size. Honestly, it'd be kind of nice with these little fish. Their mouths are so small you can't really lip them. It'd be kind of nice to have just a little net to scoop them up, but normally I don't bother bringing a net with me. Uh-oh, he swam into a snag. Got to be careful about that and keep them out of that stuff. It's easy to get a little bit complacent when you're catching some smaller fish like this. They don't pull as hard, not quite as tough of a fight. It's easy to kind of just let them hang out in the water, and that'll get you into trouble. But not going to be the end of the world if this one pops free, which it is about to. I mean, it's like hooked in the whisker, maybe. I don't know if we're going to be able to get this one in the kayak, but maybe I'll let you get a look at it before. Maybe I'll let you get a look at it here before we lose it at least. That's the fish right there. That's how small it is. And these other fish we've been dealing with today have been even smaller than that. And that's why we're having the troubles that we've been having. Well, I'm not sure how best to approach landing this fish with it being hooked the way that it is. I'd like to get it in the kayak just because it's been kind of a slow day. I'll let some line out here on the rod and see if I can just get the rod out of my way a little bit. Alright, rod's in the rod holder out of the way, so we're going to do what we can to land the fish if it's possible to do so. I don't know if we'll be able to make it happen here or not. Try to do it without getting a fin in me if I can just grab the fish. There he is. How that fish didn't pop free, I do not know, but that's how we had him hooked. Right there, just barely in the skin, the corner of the mouth. Got our bait back, so that's not exactly what I was hoping to catch out here today. I was kind of hoping some of these smaller fish were maybe at least a little bit bigger than that, but we got another one in the kayak anyways. They're still fun to catch. I mean, if I can catch them, I'll take it. I'll catch them. Get this one released, and on to the next. That bait's still in good shape. Wasn't in the water, but 10 seconds, so we're just going to drop that same bait back down. And we're back in business. See if another one's hanging down there and wants to play. Something's working this bait here. They're still working it, but same thing. They're not holding on to that hook. For the size of the bite, that makes me suspect that this may be a turtle. You know, they can pull. You get a decent sized turtle, they can give you a pretty good tug, but I feel like if it was a good sized cat, able to pull like it did on that first rod there, it would definitely have hooked up on this second rod. So I sort of suspect it may be a turtle. We'll give it a second here and see how it plays out, but if we don't hook up here soon, we're gonna get out of here and move on. It's got to be a turtle. Any decent sized cat would have been hooked up by now. So that being the case, I think we'll reel up and move on, go hit a different hole. Something's on it. Something was on it. It's a channel cat, but it's a better quality one finally. Been out here all day, and not really all day, but all morning. Haven't been able to get on any quality fish. If we didn't get this one, you guys wouldn't be seeing this video. Because, oh my. Oh man. Well, let's clean that lens off. You wouldn't be seeing this video because one 2-pounder and one less than half a pounder does not make for quality fishing content. That's not something that most guys really care to watch. But when you get on a little bit better quality fish like this, it makes it worthwhile posting the video. So you guys will probably end up seeing this trip after all. And I'm not done out here. I mean, the sun's come up and it's hot. But if you can find some shade like we're in right now, right here, it's really not too bad. I'm not done out here yet. I think I've got more fish to catch, especially when I've got my little rod with me. I can at least go find, I may not find any more good quality fish like this, but I can at least go find another little channel cat to play with somewhere. Wow, that fish has a serious scar on its head. Wow. If we can land this fish, I'll show that to you. That's kind of neat looking. Be curious to know what caused that. Well, we're gonna play this fish out a little bit longer. We're to the point in the fight where there's not a whole lot going on as far as the fight is concerned, but if I try to land this fish right now, I'm gonna have serious regrets. So I'm gonna just play it out for a little while longer. I'll get my glove on so he doesn't tear me up and make me bleed. We'll get the fish landed, get a look at it, get it released, and go find the next one. See if we can get this fish landed. All right. And it's in the kayak. Man, with a scar like that, almost makes me feel guilty about catching this fish. I'm sure glad that, all I can say is I'm glad that my hook didn't go through the eye, because I hooked it on the other side of the face. If we'd have took its eye out, it'd be blind on both sides. Then I'd be feeling pretty bad. Hook just like we like to see, right in the corner of the mouth. Oh, and that one was hooked good too. Might have to get the pliers out for this one. There we go. Man, that hook was in there good. Alright, man, look at the scar on that thing. Be really curious to know what happened to that fish. There's a decent look at it. Man, that scar. That's a really good quality channel cat there. Definitely the best of the day so far. Happy to get it and ready to get it released. Home you go. Alright guys, well, I'm feeling a little bit better about the trip after getting one good quality cat. I'll do what I always do. I'll drop another bait back down because I'm sitting here, I may as well. And then I'm still feeling good, so I'm going to keep going, see if I can't find a few more fish, even if they are small, and pick them off on my little rod here. That's okay with me. I'd like to catch another fish or two before I get out of here. Let's go see if we can do it. Well everyone, plan did not work exactly like I had hoped it might. Did pick off a couple of fish using that second rod, but in the end, fish down there that have been messing with my baits in recent weeks just turned out to be too small to even catch on a second rod on a smaller hook and some lighter tackle. Feel like it's maybe more worth my time to just stick with the big baits and go look for the bigger fish, and probably could have done just as well as I did on this trip if I had focused in on the larger fish like I've done in past trips, and just focused on trying to catch some of them. But you live and you learn. I don't know, I may bring the second rod with me again on a future outing. In my mind, it seems like a great idea. Just the fish we were on this outing, like I said, just turned out to be way too small to be able to do anything with, and really to even want to bother catching. But regardless, I still had fun on the trip. That's always my ultimate goal, is to have fun every time I get out. So as long as I accomplish that, it's been a success. I have most definitely had worse trips than the one that I was on in this video, so I'm happy about that. Can't complain too much, and I'm looking forward to getting out and trying to catch some fish again here soon. Hopefully you guys will be along with me. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you then.